Yeah, I just want to say that in the future, certain things are going to disappear, and I think you can imagine that. But I don't think you can imagine what's going to disappear. But I'll tell you, Skittles are on the chopping block because, Skittles are very dangerous as far as the dye that they use to make them so bright, And I think anytime you have bright colors like that in any of your food, unless it's grown that way, but Skittles aren't grown, uh, it's poison. And that's why it is so bright, If you look at the bright animals in the forest, the bright frogs, you don't even want to touch. You don't want to go near them. And they don't want them to jump on you because they'll kill you, But anything bright plants, they're poisonous, So, look at an eggplant. Eggplant's not bright. And it's not poisonous. And for a long time, they thought tomatoes were poisonous. But, and certain greens are good for you. The peppers that are yellow and orange, they're good for you. And they're very good for you. And those colors are good for you. It means, because of the colors, it means it's good for you. But you have to watch out, Certain berries aren't good for you because they're bright red. And they're poisonous. Blackberries are good for you. Blueberries are good for you. They're not bright. And, but the candies, the Skittles, all that kind of stuff is going to go away. And, I would say we're going to have more of a regiment as far as what's good for us. Look, I just saw somebody on John Oliver eating a meat smoothie, and they were eating raw meat. And yes, there was a time when we could do that, back in the day, but with the discovery of fire, kind of did away with that, Just like there was a time when we could drink out of a pond or drink out of a lake, but we didn't have the pollution that we have now, the oil and gas that goes into that river and that lake and stuff like that, and that's why you can't drink that water anymore. It's garbage. It'll kill you. It'll make you sick. But back in the day, we could drink out of a lake because it was a different lake. It's not the same lake, and our stomachs were different. We had parasites. We had things that combated the bad things that were in the water, and we don't have those anymore. They have a great medicine, great antibiotics that get rid of parasites in your stomach. And ever since the invention of those antibiotics, guess what's gone up? And increased tremendously. Stomach cancer, intestinal cancer, anal cancer. It's all gone up because they got rid of the parasites. And the parasites, the parasites, but they were in our gut. We didn't see them. They didn't walk around on our skin. And they ate the bad things in our gut. They ate the things that created cancer. But you get rid of the parasites because everybody, when you tell them, oh, you got a parasite, everybody's like, oh, get rid of that, please, quick. Well, they did. And then you go back 6 months or a year later and they're like, yeah, I got stomach cancer. But they don't say it because we got rid of the parasite, Oh. These metal chairs. I'm at my favorite patio. This is my patio, the gelato store. It's got the patio chairs, the light, and I get to sit here and I don't even know what time it is. Probably 1 o'clock in the morning, probably later than that. I watched a video. I watched John Oliver last week tonight on my phone. Just chilling out, hanging out. Our kid Jr., he's the most evil son of a bitch. He was running for president. Can you imagine if he won? Oh my God. What a nightmare that would have been. I think he would make Trump look like a Boy Scout. And his speaking, you know, oh my God, I'd have to kill him just so I don't have to talk to him. Listen to his voice. His voice is horrible. And his wife, Cheryl Hines, yeah, I liked her in, what was the name of that show? Whatever. And I liked her, but now she's a piece of shit because she's attached to RFK Jr. She's a piece of shit. You know, she might be pretty, but in her heart, in her soul, she's a piece of shit. So I think she should lose her career for being with RFK Jr. Because it shows she has no judgment. And if you can be with him, then you have no right telling my kids what to do or how to live. And if you're on a show and my kids watch your show, they have to know they're watching a piece of shit. So, you know, you lose your right when you choose badly. You know, persons have consequences, and I think that should be one of them. When you picked RFK, you opted out of being on TV. You opted out of being in the movies. Yeah, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions of blondes. We don't need you. We can replace you with another blonde. You know, they need a blonde. I don't know why, but I hate blondes. You know. I'm attracted to blondes, but I hate them just as much because I'm attracted to them. You know, I don't. When I see a blonde, the double sign on their forehead goes on. You know, and that's what they are. You know, most blondes are the devil. They could be nice as hell, but they're the devil. Because that's what the devil did in creating the blonde. Just as a weapon, his weapon against men. I like brunettes. I like redheads. I have no problem with redheads. And I think redheads get very underrated. Can't name a lot of redheads that you would know. I can't name them because they're not promoted like blondes, like a Pamela Anderson or a Christy Brinkley or something. They're all blondes. You know, everybody knows them, but nobody knows the redhead. You know, I think the redhead is beautiful. You know. I think they paint the redhead as the one with the freckle face. You know, some do, some don't. You know, freckles aren't so bad. I'd rather have a girl with freckles and red hair than a knife in my back that the blonde's going to put there. I don't know. You know, people let their little head do all the thinking, and they wonder why they get in so much trouble. Yeah. The little head has a one-track mind, you know. I want in. And doesn't realize what it costs and what you're giving up. You know. I mean, blondes know they have power. It's wrong. It's not right that they have power. You know, if you're in a room or something and a beautiful blonde walks in, you know, the whole atmosphere, the whole aura of the room changes. The whole vibe changes. Everybody gets fixated on the blondes. You know, I don't like that. I don't like that. Usually they're a piece of shit, you know. Usually they're not a good person. Because they know that they go in the room and that happens. You know. It's like good-looking guys. Good-looking guys, you know, 90% of them don't have a personality of a gnat. You know? They don't have a personality whatsoever. They just sit there and girls flock to them. They can say the stupidest things and the girls are like, yeah, I love them. Yeah, so they don't have to work for it, you know. They don't have to develop a personality. And I think a lot of the women that marry a pretty guy, you know, once you have sex with them, then it's not a big deal anymore. You're not so pretty anymore, and you're stuck with a guy with no personality. And he sits on the couch watching sports all weekend, and you can't have a conversation with him because he doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. But he's pretty. A lot of girls, you know, they say like a dumb guy. As a boyfriend, maybe. You don't make him a husband. You know, unless your brother's a divorce attorney, then you can do what you want. I think I'm going to have a marriage, a wedding. I'm going to marry myself. I'm going to marry my right hand. But I have a good divorce attorney, right? I guess the only way I'm going to get married, marry myself. I want children, but I don't. In a lot of ways, I don't. Not at this age, I don't feel like raising them, and I don't want to raise anybody else's. So that's a problem too. I don't never want to be the stepdad. I hated my stepdad. I hated him. I hated his guts. It was a bad situation. He'd be home, and I'd sit on my grandmother's porch, which was next door, and I had to wait for people to come home because I couldn't go in the house with him in the house because it wasn't safe. It was a very bad situation. Even it was raining. The porch didn't have a roof, so I sat in the rain and waited for someone to come home. I wouldn't go in the house by myself. And it's just when you're a stepdad, the kid don't respect you. The kid sees you as trying to take over dad, and be dad that you'll never be and stuff like that. And I don't want to enter that world, Dad's most likely a piece of shit, and that's why he left him in the first place. I don't want to compete with that, And doesn't matter what you do, they always love the piece of shit more than he loves you. So he's screwed for life, I'm not there to unscrew him. And the girls the same. The girls love their dad. He's a piece of shit. They love him because they don't know no better. They don't believe the stories, or they don't hear the stories. So. And they blame mom. They don't blame dad. Whatever. I'm happy with my single life. I'm out here by myself, having a good time. Watching TV, making a video. There's nobody out on the street. I haven't seen one person the whole time I'm sitting here. I'm fine with it. I don't need people to entertain me. When I was younger, I did. I was like everybody else. When I was younger, I wanted to be around. But, I went to college. And 4 years, but 2 years at hospital. Not one person in the yearbook. I got the yearbook. I don't know why I got it, but I got it. Not one person in the yearbook I knew. I didn't know anybody at college. I was a commuter. I didn't live there, so I was a commuter. And when my class was over, I went home, and that was it. I didn't eat in the restaurants on the campus and stuff. I went home and ate. I did something else, but I didn't care to socialize with people, and they were below me anyway. They were beneath me. They couldn't. The professors spent a lot of time trying to get me to tutor kids, and they never showed up. We had many appointments. I'd be at the library waiting for them, and they never show up. I didn't have to take the final because I did that, so it was worth my while. But I'm sure they're doing very well in corporate America. Probably have a very good job. Don't know shit from granola. Couldn't add 2 + 2, but they're doing good because they got a degree. Somehow they passed. Somehow they got the degree because school passes you. You paid for the degree. They don't care if you earn the degree. They don't care if you're worthy of the degree. They just you paid for the degree. And I had a great career, grade-wise in college, in the university. I'm sitting here on Social Security, and I have no money, and I don't work, and I haven't worked since 1999, and I don't plan on working. So, they have a car they can't afford, a house they can't afford, a wife that don't love them, and kids that just want what's in their pockets. So I don't know who's got the better life. I think I do.